I found a way.
All right. Well, a pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you wherever you are in the world. I'm joined by a very intricate part of the dynamic EDM duo, Basement Jaxx. This gentleman's name is Duncan, and there's several questions that I'd like to ask you, Duncan. But I'd like to focus on certain parts of this interview, and let's see if we could get down to business. So, what has been the primary reason why you have put in the effort or support of these guys, Simon and Felix?
Primary reason. So, well, probably from a music perspective, growing up, they were very much out there and a thing through my teenage years. So I was familiar with their music growing up. Getting to a point of working with them, to work on music, you know people on a personal level. Like you spend time in the studio, you're in each other's way, you're in each other's armpit, kind of doing, making sounds and creating. And so probably in a human way, like knowing that they're good people on the inside helps when you come to be creative, to make music together.
Yeah.
Which leads to like a bigger picture. Probably why I've done it, like work with these guys for quite a few years, because you get along and then the music is part of that kind of.
Yeah, it sounds like an extension out of. I can't help but feel like a palpable sense of excitement when you speak about this group. And it sounds like the music does come out of an extension of their personalities.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can imagine yours as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've been going longer, obviously, than I've worked with them. But you work with them and you get brought into the family in a way. So people call it the Jaxx family. Like you start working with them and the family grows, and they have the live singers and crew that they've worked with over the years, and they're all part of the sort of extended family. So there's quite a few people involved.
That's incredible to me because, I mean, I could understand that an artist may become familiar with the people that they're working with, but to consider someone family is like another level. It's like a level of trust, a level of acceptance, and a level of belief. Do you feel that these gentlemen are as supportive as you are of them in your own goals and dreams and ideas?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like on deeper levels, we talk about life. Like we where do you see yourself in a few years? How's it going with your partner? Like, we don't just talk about plugins and bass lines all day long. It's like, how's your life going? It's quite, we have a deeper connection, obviously.
Yeah, that means a lot to me to hear. I could imagine there's some artists who would rather keep that part of themselves closed off. They may feel like, they should just be professionals. But I think you could be both professional and be personal and be personable as well.
I think that's a really important way of working with people. Like you see them as a sort of almost a friend rather than a client or someone you're engaging with. And me and my friends, we tend to work better with friends or with people that you vibe with. So you're not just hiring me as an engineer for the day, like you're hiring me as if it's my record and I'm putting my best into it so that it sounds, so I'm proud of it, like you put your pride into your work.
Of course. That's awesome because that pride is going to reflect in the finished material.
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell that someone did this with effort and did this with love. I think that's very important. You've been with this group, like you said, for X amount of years. What have you noticed in terms of their growth or development, or your own growth and development working with these guys?
That's a big question. I couldn't say.
Wait, any one specific thing?
I think part of this creative process is that it's always changing. It's let's say Basement Jaxx is it's a melting pot of ideas, but it's also a reflection of where culture is at the moment, where it's been, where it's going. Some of the ideas we talk about in the studio, like it's all about being aware of who's doing what in a certain sound way, what sounds like this or that, then referring to old references like, oh, that makes me think of that in an old way. So that's kind of a hard question to answer with a straightforward
No, but
thing.
that
It's like
answer,
it's like a melting pot of ideas, if you see what I mean.
that answer inspires me because it gives me the impression that you try to keep your pulse on what is going on in the world and how to make music that kind of identifies issues that are important to you. Is that true?
It depends if you're doing just music or you're writing lyrics. Felix writes a load of the lyrics and has his sort of perspective on things, and you can ask him all about that. But yeah, it depends what you're trying to convey, I suppose.
So when these gentlemen get together and you're a part of the session and they're deciding on the writing topic or where it is that they go, do you ever feel inspired to lean in and to suggest a certain direction for the song to take, or even rhythmically or musically suggest certain phrases that you feel like would be appropriate to the idea?
For sure. They're,
That's incredible.
part of the comfort of the situation is if you have an idea, I think you can just throw it in, even if it's acknowledged but not appropriate. Like you should always shout in your idea, and it could open a door. It could be a tangent that you don't want to introduce, but I think, especially Simon Felix, very open-minded. If you've got an idea for something, I think it's better to say it and chuck it in, even if it's, it might end up being muted or end up being in another track.
Sure,
it could end up being somewhere else. But
I think that, and in fact, it's important that you mention that, Duncan, because I think that these gentlemen seem like people who live by osmosis. Do you know what I mean by that? People who are able to walk into an environment and to gather strength or to gather inspiration from that environment and put it to work. Is that true?
They can answer for themselves that, but I think you're right in kind of we are a product of our environment anyway. So like they've had their experiences, I've had mine, we've all had experiences that will filter through. But it's interesting because we're at the studio now and we're throwing ideas in and there's lots happening, but ultimately it's what ends up being in the final version that will be judged. But often with these songs, that they've been on a bit of a journey and they've sounded various different ways before they've got to that final version. So
it sounds like a very enriching process personally. So let me ask you this, in terms of your own initiatives or your own ideas, your own music making, what type of inspiration does working with a group like that provide for you? Like that might sound like a broad question, but maybe you can answer that for me anyway.
Yeah, so in an electronic music way, I mean, it's pretty inspiring to sit there and almost be a fly on the wall and see how their stuff takes shape, or chip in with ideas or craft sounds or whatever we're doing. Yeah. So maybe in my own work, I've taken time to sort of turn left a little bit, explore ambient music. I put out an ambient record a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Made for like the flotation tank. So we released it on their label in the end, which is quite cool. Basement Jaxx.
That's awesome.
Check that out. But I made it in mind that you would sort of take time out and use a different part of your brain, and sort of, if you've ever done sensory deprivation.
No, I've never experienced that.
You go inside a tank, the lid closes, you float, and it's full of Epsom salts. So you have this sort of next to no gravity feeling, and you can kind of take an hour in there. So I did it with some like Sony swimming headphones, and I got it mastered, put it on the headphones, went for a float, and I had an out-of-body experience from it. Wow. Which, not saying that could happen to everybody, but given the chance with the right tones and drones, it's a bit of a drone record. It took me to another place. So people get that from dancing, people get that from, other stimulants, but drugs and alcohol. But for me, it was being surrounded by dance music day to day or in the studio. I wanted to do a record that was kind of total opposite side.
Yeah, completely opposite
side of that. So anyway, that's one avenue. Like I've done stuff for little fashion ads and stuff like that as well. So that's playing the game a bit and being a bit of a contemporary producer and having beats and doing that kind of thing. But maybe my own curiosities are, they sort of started from at a younger age, playing guitar and messing around with piano and trumpet.
And trumpet?
Yeah, and so probably writing music for real instruments. Did some stuff with an orchestra when I was 17, that kind of thing. So then fast forward quite a few years doing just electronic music, house music, dance music for like 10 plus years.
Wow.
Then I wanted to do something that was very opposite to that. And sort of cleanse the mind a little bit and the ears as well. It's important to, like, I listen to classical music sometimes just to
detox.
Yeah, detox, refresh the brain and the ears a little bit, and then go listen to loads of dance music for all week long.
I've been sitting here dying to comment on the sensory deprivation chamber experience that you're talking about, because it sounds almost like a very spiritual type of experience as well.
It can be whatever you make of it. So some people go and they're so tired and stressed from the grind, they end up falling asleep, and they have 1 hour of amazing rest. And it's whatever you need. You can go there and you can nod off. You're not going to drown. I mean, they give you like a neck pillow and you just float around. So you should try it. You can do it on like the High Road in Angel and stuff like that. So.
I don't know. You'd probably have to go with me.
I definitely won't be getting in the tank to do that.
That's fine. I think I can do that by myself.
I don't think we'd fit.
But definitely, yeah, because it's not, you did mention the idea of detoxing, of being able to clear one's mind and one's thoughts. And Lord knows, I'm pretty sure 90% of the listeners out there probably went, yeah, I could use something like that right now. Because
there's a whole scene. I mean, I'm not a pioneer in that scene of making music for flotation tanks. Like, there's a whole community online, and Reddit. You can go on there and listen, find out people or even YouTube, there are playlists of this stuff. And
yeah, that definitely sounds interesting. My concern, though, is more the sense of healing, the sense of presence, and the sense of just clarification that brings. Because you're right. I think after layers and layers of whatever it is that you do for a living, you need something to scrape that off. You need some way to kind of, rejuvenate.
I think what it did for me was basically put me in a headspace where I was able to just go into a really deep meditation quite quickly. And I had no prior practice to that. I hadn't practiced meditation or anything. It just put me in a spot where I was like, wow, my brain relaxed and released certain chemicals.
This was your first experience in this chamber. Induced that sense of meditation.
Yeah. But people do that as a regular thing. Like, they book it once a week and use that as their time to kind of reflect. So I did it again, 6 months later without the music, and I didn't go into such a deep space.
So describe a little bit about the music. I mean, you did mention it being ambient. You produce the sounds. Describe a little bit of, is there a chorus, verse? How is it?
No.
Pure?
It's 2 tracks. It's an A side and a B side of a vinyl, essentially. They're both 25 minutes long. I wrote it, let's say, as 16 and 32 bars of music, and then I slowed it down and stretched it into some huge, really long tone, and then I took kind of the bit that had the nicest feeling to it once it'd been stretched and slowed down, and then I kind of orchestrated on top of it and played some brass and strings and horns and I actually played everything on it. It's just kind of buried in the mush. It's an ambient reverb kind of drone that goes on and on. But I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely curious, because the impression that I'm getting is that you took your talents and took them to like another level in terms of making a sensory experience, and it ended up being something holistic.
Yeah.
It's one thing that if you're listening to somebody else's music and it makes you feel a certain way, but you were able to fall under that sense of I would say trance, but sense of relaxation by your own work. So there must be something special hidden in all these different bars.
Yeah.
That causes that.
I remember making it. It was like the summer of 2018. It was really, really hot summer. And I'd probably, after the day is done, I'd sit down in my home studio and I'd set about like, oh, where did I get to last time? Okay, I got to about 8 minutes in, and okay, so I'm going to work on this next passage, sort of work on it for like half an hour, 40 minutes, and fall asleep and wake up in the middle of the night like, oh my God, it was kind of sent me off, like really relaxed. So relaxed that I fell asleep doing it.
Yeah, I
but
think
that's the idea. It was meant for total relaxation. And
we might have to link. We might have to
Yes.
post a link in the description. Just to,
maybe
yeah.
at the end, otherwise everyone will be like too blissed out.
Duncan, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
That's just a snapshot.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure this won't be our last conversation.
Cool, yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.